What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, what you should be watching for in the market as time progresses. But before I begin to tell most information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, but benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, now let's talk about the markets. Very soon we have the 4-week and 8-week bill auctions coming out, so watch for some volatility at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then we have a couple of Fed speakers after that for the rest of the day, but most of the data is very, very minor. Now, what's happening to SPY, in my opinion, is that we're on a bit of a downtrend. We had this high here, it came down, went up again, made a lower high, and we're just continuing to fall. So, in my personal opinion, there is weakness in this chart. The chart is showing weakness. I think that there is a dip of there's a risk of us dipping all the way down to 523 and kind of trying to hold that area. So now with the weakness that's developing, we're going to be watching to see if SPY could hold 523. We retested and we're just holding it for now. If we end up losing 523, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 521. There is a risk of us dipping lower. So far the chart is showing weakness. So I'll be watching this very carefully. I think we could be dipping all the way down towards 521 if we lose 523. The chart is weak. We're showing some more bearish momentum that's kind of making up the current order flow. So that kind of tells us that there is a risk of us dipping lower. So just be very careful with this. With Nvidia, we're seeing something very similar. Nvidia is turning on the 4-hour time frame. We currently have some critical support levels. The first one's going to be right here at 1120 to 1125. If we lose this, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 1100. We have resistance at 1140 and then 1150. I think that Nvidia is kind of turning right here. We're going to be testing 1125 very soon. If this fails us, we'll look for 1100, and there is a risk of some more downside, in my personal opinion. So Nvidia is kind of slowing down. We had a little bearish divergence here. The 4 hour is turning weaker. So I think that this is going to dip a bit, and this is actually contributing to why the QQQ is falling. The QQQ is also dipping a bit. As you guys could see, we're at support at this 452 area right about here. If we lose this, we'll be dipping all the way down to 450. We have resistance currently all the way up towards 453 and 455. Overall, the downside is looking more imminent, and we're continuing to fall lower. So I do favor that this might dip a little bit, retest the 452s, and we'll have to see if this holds or not. If we lose that, we could get very close to 450 before we try to bounce finally. So I'll be watching this as we're at some critical support. And finally, we also have Tesla stock right here. Tesla's not looking that great. So I am a little concerned about one thing. It is possible that we have a very symmetrical looking structure. Not a guarantee yet, but it is possible. As you guys can see, we have like a left shoulder here. Then we have a head up here possibly. Then we could be forming a right shoulder, which could lead to more downside going into tomorrow or beyond. So I'd be very careful with Tesla right now. We pumped a bit amidst some bullish news that came out involving FSD being released in China, and also because of news involving a European debut for the Tesla Semi. But the issue is there is an issue, and that's the fact that the share price wasn't able to hold up, and we're back within our range. So we have resistance at this 178 area and 180. We have support at 170. Basically, 176 is acting as support. That's where our EMAs happen to be. Also at 175. If we lose that, look for 173. If we lose 173, we're bearish. Basically, break and hold 180. If you hold that, we could turn back to bullish. If we lose 173, we're back to bearish, and we have a gap to fill down at 168. What do I think Tesla's doing? We're kind of shuffling right now, but there is a risk of a little bit more downside because of the overall market and because of this rejection. Very bearish looking daily candlestick, and also the 4-hour candlestick so far on Tesla. So it favors that Tesla might continue to dip a bit. So just be very careful with it, in my personal opinion. Aapl is showing some life. We'll be watching basically support around this 190 area, and we have resistance at 192. We'll be watching to see how this ends up moving. 192 could, if we get a rejection here, we'll be dipping back down to 190.5. If we break through this, we could be pushing back up to 193. Overall, I think it might be testing 192 and just continue to shuffle. So we'll be watching to see how it ends up moving from here. But we're just kind of like range bound, not doing anything too crazy for Aapl, and we'll see how things end up moving forward. Besides that, NIO is already onto the races. I called out yesterday that it likely has upside potential. I still favor upside for deliveries, which are coming up very soon. I think either tomorrow or by Monday, we're going to see quite a bit of upside. I'm once again very excited for this, so we'll see how things go. For the IWM Russell 2000, we have this gap to fill. We're actually just barely filling this gap around the 205 zone. We're gonna likely get very close to it, in my opinion, a 204.5 to about 205. And we'll have to see how things move from there. But overall, it's showing more strength relative to the markets. For Coinbase, we got a big rejection on the 4-hour watch support at 234. If we lose that, we're dipping back down to 232 and then 226. If we hold that, we could be bouncing up to 240, but there is a risk of this dipping a little bit lower. So watch for that. For Amazon, we have support currently at 180, and we have resistance all the way up to about 180.9 and also at 182. Overall, we're on a bit of a downtrend on Amazon, so watch this 180 support, see if we hold this or not. So we'll be watching that for the time being. We're kind of shuffling at 180, so give that the time it needs. For Meta, we have resistance all the way up here around 472, and we have support all the way down here at not just 467, but also all the way down here at 462. So it looks to me like Meta might dip a little bit more. We're showing a little bit of weakness right here. We have a head and shoulders like structure. To be really bearish, you want to see it lose 462. I think that's going to be testing 467 and then eventually 465, but I don't think anything too horrible is happening yet. Kind of shuffling this area, but there is a risk of some more downside. For GameStop, we look a little bit more bearish. GameStop, it's struggling to hold up very well. It might retest 20. If we lose 20, look for 18. Overall, it's still kind of shuffling, but there is a risk of some downside. AMC is the same thing. We have the 200 EMA currently at 4.14. I think we could be dipping closer to that if we continue to fall. And so far, the trend looks more bearish. So for the short term, yes, that's how it's looking. With that being said, guys, that's it for this video. The VIX is starting to reject a bit. We'll see if it gets a bounce or not. But if we have a lot of gaps to fill on the VIX, so that tells me the market may bounce very soon. I don't know if we're ready yet on SPY. I know we're trying to hold 523, but we'll have to see if 523 is where we bottom or 521. I think a temporary bottom is forming, but we're not ready yet. We have to wait and see where we base. So give the market the time it needs. All right. So with that being said, guys, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for listening this far into the video. One more thing I want to talk about is the 10-year Treasury yield. Right now, the 10-year is actually starting to dip a bit. So we got a very, very big push thanks to a lot of Fed speakers saying very, very hawkish things. Not super hawkish, but just like more hawkish than before about how they may have to keep rates higher for longer. That's why the yields have went up, which caused the market to dip. Now they're starting to dip a bit, which gives the market some potential to bounce. We'll see if we get a bounce tomorrow thanks to PCE or not. But I personally think that, this is my view, that the odds favor that the market's going to bounce soon. I don't think we're ready yet, but soon I think it's going to come. So once again, for SPY, I think this is one of the most watched tickers that I talk about. I think we're going to likely bottom between 523 to 521, somewhere in that range. And we'll see where SPY bounces at. As of right now, it's still trying to hold above 523, so we'll see how that goes. But with that being said, once again, we'll see how this develops over time. All right, so thank you for listening. I'll see you guys in a few hours, and peace out.